guys, welcome to the Learning Droid. I don't know why I've got into the habit of doing that. This is a box. It's an open box, which is a shame. I would have liked to have just straight away done it straight off from unopened, but I wanted to check to make sure everything was in there. I just wanted to check to make sure that I got out the invoices and things, simply because some of the stuff was apparently on back order and I didn't know whether it had all been delivered, so I wanted to get everything before I did the video. From what I can tell, nothing's been left out of this, which is brilliant because they said the back order would be 10 to 20 days and they ordered this 5 days ago. So, boom, lovely. This is my new pyrography kit and I'm doing another unboxing. So, first off, we have a nice little explanation of the different things that you can buy and that you have bought and different things you can do. Basically just a little bit of advertisement for the website that I got this from. And packing peanuts. Oh, the foam. I love them. No. So let's have a look. What's on top? These are diamond sharpeners. Diamond honing edges. Basically they're just basically like little grinding blocks. Little whetstones. But diamond edged. The reason I got these is because my new machine is a wire machine, and if you want to make really fine edges, or if you're making your own wire points, a set of stuff like this is really useful, because you can actually edge the wire, you can actually slightly change shape, especially if you're going to do coils and things like that. You can actually flatten it out so you don't have ridges. So this sort of thing is really good. This was a nice little set. It's actually the cheapest I've ever seen these, in a set of 3. So we've got superfine, fine and medium grain. I thought I'd ordered coarse, medium and fine. But that's okay. Superfine, fine and medium grain will work. What else have we got? Oh, crikey. Not a clue what this is. I have a little sausage shaped pack of bubble wrap. Here we go. Careful not to cut through the bubble wrap. I'm just going to run the blade along where the bubble wrap is taped together, just to undo the little sausagey bit. So what's this? Ah! Speaking of making my own pyrography points, this is pyrography wire. So I have 4 1-ounce reels of pyrography wire. For instance, this is 28 grams of pyrography wire, and this should be 28 grams, and that's 25 standard wire gauge, 24, 23 and 26 on the other end. In here as well as my pyrography wire coils, I have 2 little sets of things. This big red thing is a coupler. It's basically just a direct link. It's a little metal tube inside a little plastic tube. It's used for linking 2 pyrography pens together so that they run in circuit, in sequence with each other. It just means you can heat up 2 at once. To be honest, this is one of the worst things about this machine, which is the Peter Child Machine, which is the one I just ordered, is that it uses these couplers to link pens together. Other machines that I've seen have actually a attachment that you stick in, and it has 2 outputs and a rock switch. So you can turn one off and turn the other on. The disadvantage with this is you've got live current running through both machines at once. They're running through both wire tips at once, which is a little bit... It's not a bad idea as long as you're careful, as long as you know what you're doing. But again, it means you've got 2 hot machines. I mean, wired machines heat up and cool down very quickly, so having a rocker switch is brilliant. But it works well to do bits where you're switching between 2 wire points regularly. I also have these little bits which look like nuts and bolts. They are actually contact points, and they're basically just a set of replacement contact points. These ones I think were £2, specifically designed to work with this machine, and it's basically if the contact points I have break, the contact points on the machine I have break, I've got a replacement set. I ordered them, they were cheap, it meant I didn't have to pay any extra packing for them if I ordered them now, and it just gives me a little bit of backup just in case, shall we say. So what else have we got? Hand goes in. What can you find? What can you find? Oh. Aha! This is Abranet. Abranet is a kind of sanding paper that comes on a mesh net rather than on a plain sheet. And there's the sanding block, which is quite a comfortable foam sanding block. Actually, I thought it was made of plastic, but no, it's made of foam rubber. You just Velcro the pieces to this and sand, and this supposedly comes with everything from 80 grain to 800 grain. So, well, there's my 80 grain on the back, and this is 600. It says it's 600, so it may go from 80 to 600. It said 80 to 800, but we shall see. We shall have a look through that in a moment. So we have that as well. What else do we have? What else do we have? I think I know what this is. Let us open it and see. The packing's reasonably well done, really. Everything's come wrapped up reasonably nicely. Yes, this is the Pyrography pen itself, and it's got a little fine detail point in it. As you can see, I'll do a comparison video in a bit about how to pick your pyrography machine. But if I just pop this out, as you can see, it doesn't have the large heating coil or heating shaft that a solid point machine does. This is simply because it doesn't actually have to heat anything up other than the tip. So all it does is run an electrical current through here, and it heats this up by conduction, by resistance, sorry, not conduction, by resistance. So the wire resists the electricity and it heats it up. The cable's quite thick, it's quite stiff, I mean, it will loosen up a little bit, and you have the two contact points at the end. Some things use like a D-pin or a plug on the end. This one just uses a pair of little connectors. Doesn't really matter which. But as I was saying, with a wire point machine, you don't need a heating shaft because there's no internal coil to heat up. It just heats this little bit using resistance, which means you get a nice narrow grip. I mean, if you look at my other one, this one's about a half the thickness of my other pen, and the distance between your hand and the bit that you're pyrographing with is maybe a third the distance. So this can be really useful indeed. So there's one of the pens. This was actually an extra pen, which is why I have the coupler, because I bought an extra pen to go with everything else. So there we go, and I shall place that back in its little protective bag, if I can get it to fit, because I'm obviously not as good at packing things as people who sent this to me. I'm very impressed with the delivery time, considering they said it would be a back order of 10 to 20 days, or a waiting list of 10 to 20 days, and it's only between 7 and 5 days later. Ah, here's the main event. Oh. And one more thing that isn't the main event. I think that's everything. Yes, I shall check on my little list of things that I purchased, but I do believe that's everything. Wire, coupler, points, sharpening, Abranet, extra pen, book. So we'll do the book and then we'll get on to the sort of main event, shall we? So let's have a look at the book. This is just, I mean, as you can see, I've been doing pyrography for about 6 months now. But this is a book written by someone who uses this machine specifically. And it talks about the different things you can do with this machine. One thing I'd really like to have a go at is colouring. In this they use a pen, apparently, a felt tip pen. Okay, that's a little bit odd. I'll have to read that to make sure that that's actually what they're doing. I would have expected them to use coloured wood stains, but no. And it's just a nice little book of a couple of different projects and a couple, just a little bit of information really, just to help me get into the swing of things. And now, the piece de resistance, the Peter Child Pyrography machine. As I was saying, with wire tip machines, there's a couple of different things. Some wire tip machines are actually quite sneaky in that they have proprietary ends, proprietary connectors. That means you can't actually make your own tips. So that's one thing to check for, is to make sure that you can make your own tips for the machine you're buying. Because while ones that you can make your own tip for are I don't know if you want to make your own tips. The problem is if they have a proprietary end, that means you can only buy tips from them, and they will often gouge you for the price quite heavily. I've seen a couple that use proprietary tips where for 1 or 2 tips you're looking at paying £5. Well, one of these reels of wire cost me £4, and it will probably do a couple of 100 tips, considering it's like 20 foot long and you use a couple of inches at a time. So there's a significant difference there. See if I can get it the right way up. Which way does it open? Which way does it open? This way. Aha! So there's our instruction manual. Here's the little bit of wire it comes with and the preformed tips. We'll give that a little shake to see if we can get the preformed tips into the centre. So there we have preformed tips that it comes with. The Peter Child's machine comes with it. A lot of pyrography machines come with preformed tips. And we have another pen, because this is the pen that actually comes with the machine. It's exactly the same as the other pen. Even has the same tip in it. Coils, all the same, lovely jubbly. And then we have our machine. Now, as you can see, it's not massive. It's not a huge piece of machinery. And there are our 2 connectors, our power switch and our adjustable dial to adjust the amount of electricity passing through the tip. This is really good, and every single wire tip machine I've seen, I've never seen a, well, no, tell a lie, I've seen one single temperature wire tip machine, and it wasn't actually for sale anymore. Every single wire tip machine that I've seen that's for sale has an adjustable temperature gauge or an adjustable temperature knob. This is the base unit. This takes in the electricity, and it basically is just a giant transformer with a variable output. This one's quite nice. Online it actually doesn't look this nice. Online I would say the pictures don't do it justice. It is actually a nicer machine than it looks on their website. It's nice and smooth, it's got a nice sturdy carry handle. I mean, it's just a standard sort of buy from the DIY shop carry handle, but there's nothing wrong with that. It's a nice plastic carry handle. It's got this little clip here, which is designed for resting and clipping your pen to when you're not using it. So if you've got 2 pens coupled, you have got a place to put your pen. I think that might be a little bit tight, so I might have to loosen that slightly later. 2 little connectors go in there. If you're coupling connectors together with your coupler, all you do is put the first connector of one in here, then connect the 2 connectors together and put the second connector of the second pen into here. So you've got connector, connector, coupler, connector, connector, and then you've got the 2 pens coming off. It's not a bad system. It works quite well. Power switch, of course, turn it on and off quickly, and it's all very nicely made, very nice and smooth. Slightly weird screwing and collections of sort of things, but it's got a nice little heat vent on the side. It's got all the manufacturing details on the back. It's lovely. I like that. That's very good. And it's exceedingly weighty. And the advantage with that is, with the single temperature machines where you don't have one of these units, there's no weight. So if you put the pyrography machine somewhere and the cable is over the edge of the table, the weight of the cable can actually pull your pyrography machine away from you, or pull it off the stand you've got it sitting on, which means that the pyrography machine falls onto the table, burns the table, or touches you, or things like that. A nice heavy weighty machine like this means that nothing's going to move because of this power cable, which is quite thick and heavy compared with the cables running to the actual machines. So we've got the advantage of our hand being closer to the piece that we're working on. The heat up time is much quicker, so we don't have to wait as long. We can have a much bigger variety of points. There's horizontal and vertical points that we'll talk about later, but we can have a much bigger variety of points. We can make our own points. We can buy points as well. So there's a couple of different ways we can get points. And there's no hot shaft. There's no hot part of the machine other than the tip and possibly these tines on the end. These 2 tines will heat up slightly over time. But otherwise, there's no bit of the machine that gets hot specifically because it's meant to, other than the tip. So you don't have that big hot part that's just sitting there doing nothing. So the heat up time is faster. You don't have the hot heating coil shaft. Only the tip gets hot. The cooling down time is quicker. You can exchange for many different kinds of tips, and you can make your own tips. You can't make your own tips for a solid point machine. You have to buy them. And a lot of solid point machines use proprietary screw threads or proprietary links into the machine. Some of them don't, some of them do. Quite a few of them do use proprietary sizes. So with this, you've got a little bit more flexibility. I mean, technically, because this is just a pop the wires in and screw the connection points in, I can literally use wire tips from any manufacturer, as long as they are plain wire tips. A pack of 10 fine point wire tips usually sets you back about £5 if they're just general ones made out of wire. Or £4 for one of these coils. I got a pack of 4 coils, which meant that I got them for about £4 each. If you buy the coil individually, it's about £6. But this is like 20 something foot of wire, and you use a couple of inches of time to make a tip. So what have we got? We've got sanding, and we've got a much more varied type of sanding paper now. So I've got everything from 80 to 600, possibly 800, I'm not sure. Which means that I can pick and choose, and because it's Abranet, because it's a mesh rather than a paper, it'll get clogged up less, so I can use it for longer without having to replace it. I mean, you can buy replacement pads and replacement chunks of this, but you can use it for longer, and you can vacuum it out and keep going. I've got my little coil of wire and my pre-made bits, 2 pens, one that comes with the machine, one that's purchased separately as a spare pen, honing points, coupler and replacement contact points, the machine, and a step-by-step pyrography book that I thought looked quite interesting, that wasn't particularly expensive. We've got our instruction manual, and then we've got the little advertising bits and pieces. So that's everything, guys. It's quite a good collection, really. If you're going to be making your own wire tips, you also need a set of, I mean, some people say you can just use normal pliers. I would recommend you can get a set of 5 modelling pliers, which are needle nose, blunt nose, wire snip, bent nose, and often end snip pliers. A pack of 5 of them. Cheap ones in pretty much any modelling shop for about £5. And when you're working with little things, I mean, look at the size of the wire tip point on that. That is tiny. And when you're working with these tiny sizes, a full size set of pliers is going to be awkward as hell. So getting a set of little modelling pliers will do really well. I've already got a set of modelling pliers. I use them to take the bits in and out of my old machine. Now, I'm not going to be throwing away the Weller machine, the Weller wood burning and hobbyist machine, even though it's solid point single temperature, because it's useful for things like point list work, because these tips aren't brilliant, wire machines aren't brilliant for point list work. You need to be more careful with them because they can bend. Still work, but the solid machines tend to be a little bit better for deep burning point work. So you'll be seeing me using this every now and then, or a lot of the time from now on, and hopefully I will see some sort of change in my quality of pyrography. Probably not. It's once again a case of workers can do great work with any tool, and poor workmen do poor work no matter what tool they've got. I am quantifiably a poor workman, and no matter which tool I have, I will be bad at it. So I will complain very vehemently about this tool, saying that it's useless and that's the reason I'm bad at pyrography. No, I won't. I'll be very fair. I won't put a review of this up straight away, guys. Give me a couple of months, just like with the Weller one, with the Weller wood burning and hobbyist kit. I want to give the Peter Child Machine lots of time to show me what it does, to have me play with it and do this and do that and get used to it. And once I'm used to it and I know exactly what it does and how it works and what quality it is, I'll actually come back and do a review of it. So I won't be talking about it in generality. I won't be talking about it, all wire machines are like this and la-di-da-di-da. I'll actually be talking specifically about this, just like I did with the Weller one. I used it for a few months and then I came back and did a review of it. So guys, I hope you enjoyed, and see you next time. Aces!